What's up, everyone? It's your favorite optometrist, Dr. Darryl Glover. Happy Friday. I am super excited today because we are going to talk about something that everyone in the world knows I'm very passionate about. And that's how we can create a better experience, how we can elevate that optical experience for our patients. Today's guest is a star. She is fantastic. She has all the answers, and we're going to get all those answers today, that's for sure. Friends and family, I would like to welcome to the show Kayla from Spexy. How are you doing today, Kayla?
I am doing so good. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, well, thanks for coming out and to hang out with me today. I'm super excited because, again, I'm very passionate about making sure that my patients have all the right tools and resources to be successful whenever they walk out of my exam lane. And I know in order to make that happen, we really have to partner with our optical team members to make sure that they have all the resources and tools to be successful. So
Amen.
Today I really want to dive deep into this topic. But before we get started, I would love for you to share your background, where you're from, how you got into this fantastic industry known as Eyecare, and let's just build from there.
Yeah, perfect. Well, I am from a little town near Boise, Idaho. So very, very small town. Boise's small on its own, and a small town outside of Boise. And I was going to school at Boise State and for my business marketing degree. And as I was in school, I had been working for a while at Starbucks, and everyone knows like the hours at Starbucks are like, you're working early, working late, So I had told my mom one time, Mom, I want a real job. Before I was graduating, like I wanted like 9 to 5 job, and then I'll switch all my classes to evening classes and everything else. And she's like, okay. So this was back in the day when you would have to send in faxes to apply for a job. And so I had a really sweet resume because I'm just, big into design and everything else. Made up my resume, sent it to my mom. My mom apparently faxed it in all these places. I wish it was a more glamorous story than this of how I got into Eyecare. But I got a call one day and this lady says, hey, your resume looks really great. We would love to get you in for an interview to work front desk. And I'm like, cool. And I had no idea what this place even was. I had to call the number back and I heard them go, oh, it's blah, 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 Eyecare. And I'm like, oh, Eyecare, cool. So I wish it was more profound than that, but that's how I got into Eyecare. I was working front desk for a few months, and I am big into sales and numbers and data. And I realized very quickly how much money was being left on the table in this eye care practice. And so I started working with the opticians. They trained me up to become an optician. And then everything was just, history from there. So all started with my mom faxing in a resume.
Gotta love a good old-fashioned fax machine, right?
Yep, that's how it all happened.
Well, that's awesome. I always tell folks, like a lot of times, a lot of the stories I hear, it's that optometry finds people. People don't really go out looking for optometry, it finds them. And that's kind of what happened to me. I mean, when I was in undergrad at NC State, go Wolfpack, I needed a job. I was like, I need some money. And, I need to eat, right? And so I started working, selling glasses. And, I've told this story multiple times on this show, but I always like to put it out there. I sold my first pair of glasses, and that patient, they looked at me, they looked to the left, to the right, smiled, and just thanked me so much. And they just kept thanking me. And they were so excited. And just that smile just changed my life. And at that point in time, I told myself, I don't want to just be the one that's selling the glasses, but I want to be the one that's writing that prescription to help that patient live their best life. And ever since then, I've been rocking and rolling and doing that day in and day out. So optometry truly does find you. And I'm glad that optometry found you, because you have added tremendous value to the industry, especially for my independent, opticians and private practice owners, because you make it so that they can really elevate their practice, but keep more to the bottom line as well.
Absolutely.
What I'd like to do before we get into all this amazing software and technology and opportunities you have to enhance any practices out there. It's just maybe talk about some of the problems that you really see in these optical shops, just in general. I mean, just feel free to fire away, whether it's what's on the frame boards, the training. I mean, what do you typically see as a major issue with these offices?
Well, yeah, I think the biggest issue overall, like if it was just like one umbrella little phrase, it would be missed opportunities. Just that simple. But I think that comes from the fact that in the medical industry, period, any medical field, doctors go to school to become great doctors, right? That's what you are trained to do. And,
Absolutely.
nurses go to school to become great nurses, and opticians go to school to become great opticians, right?
Yeah.
But very few of any of that training has to do with running a business and being able to maximize the business opportunity. Now, the thing with optometry that's very different from any other medical field is that so much of our success relies on retail sales, right? And an independent optical, the retail sales alone, the profitability there is about 50 to 60%. Some offices a little more, some a little less, but on
Right.
average, right? So over half. And that's just the monetary value of the business. But then also, the success of our patient can go into, go have a heart surgery, and they walk out and they go, whoa, that was the best heart surgery ever. I'm so happy. And they can come into your office and, get the best darn prescription that you prescribe them and walk out and not get any glasses. And they'll go, oh yeah, that doctor was cool. Like, they never get to know the real satisfaction of having a really great prescription and the skills of what, this doctor did for them, without being able to have glasses or contacts in their hand to be able to actually wear and see the prescription, right? So the biggest thing is, in order for our offices really to, and our patients really to have the best success, we have to be able to sell this eyewear to them, whether it be glasses or contacts. So in our medical field, in the optometry field, that's different from all of the other medical fields, is we have to know how to sell. And unfortunately, that's not really taught. So it's a really big missed opportunity when it comes to being able to capitalize, not just, from a business standpoint, but being able to really service our patients. So, as far as, being able to be trained up in sales for the doctor side and the optician side, and the front desk needs to know how to sell. I talk about a lot in all of my trainings how, you can have, the best darn optician in there, but if the doctor isn't selling stuff too, and, the front desk isn't doing their job and their sales part of the process, it's really, really hard. But when you can get all of these different, dynamics of the office working together towards the same goal, that's a huge, huge opportunity. And that's the way I would always run my trainings back in my consulting days, before when I was doing one-on-ones. And then I realized that, a lot of offices need this. And so that's why we created the opportunity to have it online as a resource for our trainings.
Something that you touched on several times is missed opportunity, but also the word sales. And, as an eye care professional, as an optometrist, a lot of my colleagues, when they hear the word sell, they want to run out the door. They don't sell anything. They just see patients and give a prescription and treat them with any medical conditions that they need to be treated with and find a solution for them. Mm-hmm. But in reality, we have to realize that we may not like that word, but we do indirectly sell every single day.
Absolutely.
We indirectly sell solutions to patients, right?
Yes.
So, we always have to look at, if a patient comes in and they have dry eyes, what are we going to do? We're going to tell them about, the best drug out there, or a lubrication drop, or whatever it may be, right? Yeah. You're indirectly selling about something to solve that solution, right?
Right.
You have to go out and buy it, right? So it's no different from, sitting in that exam room and prescribing from the chair and telling them that they need Transitions Extra Active to help solve that light sensitivity issue that they may be running into.
Yeah.
You're indirectly selling, but you're indirectly finding a solution for that patient.
Right.
And for all my optometrists out there, you got to get over it. We find solutions for patients. I just hate to say that, but that's reality. Mm-hmm. And when you're able to really make that happen, that's really going to help to elevate that experience for your patient, but also it sounds like fill up that gap that's there for these missed opportunities. Does that sound about right,
Absolutely.
Kayla?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, and it's just one of those things too, where, we don't have a problem, I guess reiterating what you just said, we don't have a problem recommending this, astronomically expensive drop, but when we're selling it and we're recommending this, might be expensive pair of eyeglasses, we just kind of like feel guilty because we're the ones selling it. We don't mind making money for the pharmacy, but that seems a little silly. But in all reality, I mean, how powerful is it when a doctor can prescribe, the best anti-reflective treatment or transition lenses from the chair and tell the patient how they're going to be able to benefit from it?
Yeah,
I talk all the time about how we're in premium sales, period, but we're just really lucky that we get to sell something. We're not selling a designer bag or a pair of shoes that they're going to wear once every date night every 6 months or something.
I mean,
Like that.
we're
selling
working
them
with patients. Yeah, we're giving them something that's going to help elevate their life and make life easier. And I love this point that David Evan Salk put on here or mentioned.
I love it.
Good selling equals educating the patient so they make the choice.
Absolutely.
And that's a great point. Really bringing that patient into the mix to have, say in what they want and what they need. As long as you educate the patient, that should make that interaction easier. But education is a big deal, and it starts with not the doctor, but as you mentioned, the front desk. But hell, we could take it a step further. It actually starts with online, social media. Your patients, before they come into your office, they should be well educated about, how you can solve whatever problem or solution that they have. As a matter of fact, a lot of times what happens is patients will go online and type in dry eyes or glare issues at night. And when they do that, what pops up? An article, maybe a link to your practice or something like that. So you have to be able to give them that solution, indirectly sell to them to solve that problem that they may have. I mean, I don't know why we're so afraid of that word. As long as you're not doing anything that's crazy, like selling someone something that doesn't need it, but you're really solving that problem, giving them that solution, educating them, there should be no issue in regards to making their life easier.
Totally. Absolutely. Absolutely.
So let's jump into it. You have an amazing company, Spexy, and you have some services that you offer with this organization, with this company. Before we jump into these services and some of the cool information, you got to tell me where this name came from, because I love this name.
So Spexy, it wasn't our original name. Our original name was Bridgepoint Optics, because that makes any sense. It didn't make any sense. But that was the first one we came up with. It was years ago. So we were looking at, okay, our name is not reflecting of what we do. It's not catchy. It's not different. So what is it that we do? And so we were going through all these different things. And now, our little slogan is that Spexy is a resource for freedom. So we've got that. But when we first came up with this, we were like, what are we going to do? We're going to change these opticals. We're going to help these opticals to be fun, to be edgy. We're going to help them be sexy again, because, online opticals, are taking some of the sales, and they're really good at making optical sexy. Like, Absolutely. Why can't we do it in independent opticals? Why can't we do that? And so we're making optical sexy again. And so we're like, we're making spectacles sexy when it's Spexy. And so it just came out like Spexy, and it just stuck. So we love it. And it's still what we do.
Very catchy, very catchy. And, whenever I'm giving talks about optometry, that's the one thing that I always say is that we got to make optometry sexy. We got to make it attractive, because we need more optometrists. People are living longer, and, they need access and care, and we got to make it an attractive profession. If not, we're going to die out like the dinosaurs. So we got to get the time. So I'm with you 100%. I love that name. Yeah. Now let's jump into some of the services that you provide and some of the technology that you have. One thing that I really wanted to start with is this concept of frame turning or frame turns. I have a great colleague that's down in West Palm Beach, by the name of Dr. Adam Ramsey. And I've had the privilege of going to Vision Expo with him on multiple occasions before the world shut down. Yeah. And, when I'm with him and he's looking at these different frames, he's talking to these vendors and he's bringing up this term, frame turn, frame turn, frame turn, frame turn. I hear it like a million times, to the point where I'm like, man, would you stop saying that word? I'm tired of hearing it. So if you don't mind, maybe just giving an overview of what a frame turn is, and then maybe let's start talking about, the inventory in the offices and how that should look as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. So frame turn is basically the ability for an optical to be able to assess the ROI of the investment that they've made of those frames on their boards is basically how you can think of it. So, if you've got 10 frames on your board and those 10 frames have sold 100 times, 10 or 100 divided by 10, then that's your turn. So it's basically a ratio of how much you've invested versus how much, that return is going to be. So it's basically how quickly that inventory sells through. And this isn't a new concept in our industry at all. And it's certainly not a new concept in any sort of retail environment at all either. Like you can walk into any of these big stores, like you could walk into a Macy's and they could tell you the turn of, this shirt and how many times a shirt has sold and how many colors. And, depending on how their turn rate is of that product, will tell them, oh, we need to increase this product, decrease this product on sale, get it the heck out of there. It really, it gives a nice little gauge of how that investment is working for them. So with frame turn, it's really important that we measure that overall turn, because the optical inventory is a huge investment in any industry, optical, even, big and small.
Yeah. So let me ask you this, and I know this is probably, there's a million answers depending on the size of your optical, as you just mentioned. What is the average frame turn?
That is a pretty much impossible question to answer.
Okay. All right.
But the reason why is because so many opticals are so very different, right? And depending on the size of the optical, we have with our data, and it's not, again, new industry knowledge, but, depending on the size of your optical will depend on what your turn overall should look like. I love it when I hear opticals that say, oh, our turn is 3. We have a 3 turn. Cool. What are you going to do with that information? And that's where a lot of opticals really, really kind of like stop. They're like, oh, I know my turn. I know the answer to this one. I know. We have a 3 turn. And that means that they're basically, all of their inventory is turning over and selling 3 times, right? And everything, usually we run frame turn on an annual basis because everything in optometry is so cyclical, right? So we run it at a 12-month time period. So the thing is that so many opticals go, yeah, I know my turn. This is awesome. But then does that actually give you any information on how you need to change and how you need to adapt? Nope, not really. So what we do with frame turn is we allow for opticals to be able to assess each brand in the frame turnover by brand. So it allows for them to see, you might have an overall average frame turnover of 3, but you probably have, 5 brands that are doing really, really, really well. And then all of these little brands down here that are doing not so hot. So, so we kind of take it to the next level of not just assessing, the overall turn of your optical, but really the turn of each brand. And that can get really, really overwhelming for opticals to be able to be tracking that all the time. And so we created a platform that allows for them to be able to easily access the results of that. So,
I love that because you're getting granular with the data, right? The one thing with optometry is that sometimes we put a lot of emotion in optometry and we don't really look at the numbers and realize we're sinking, and we need to stop sinking by maybe removing something or doing something more innovative. Yeah. And when you have this technology that you offer to your clients, it sounds like it gets real granular. I mean, we may think that everybody's coming in our office for Darryl Glover frames, but in reality, they may be coming in for Kayla frames, and those are selling better. And my emotion tied up into Darryl Glover because I like the mission and the vision of what he has going on. It's not really generating much money to my bottom line. So, that's a great point because it is a lot. I mean, if you have a lot of frames in your office, I mean, how can you really keep track of all that information? You have to have a system process in place to really make sure that you're doing your business appropriately and you're also going to be able to survive. Right.
Well, and that's the other thing too, is, everything in optical, like we're always running, to help this patient over here who's crazy. And, the doctor wants this, and, the front desk lady wants this, and everyone wants all these different things all the time. And there's always things going on. And yes, you can sit there and run your data and, do all these data points. I'm a huge numbers nerd. huge, I can make some Excel algorithms that are intense. That's how I create a frame turn. But why have that when you can have, you know, a tool that helps you? I mean, why walk to work when you can drive? You know, it's going to take a day to get there. You know, we have the technology to be able to do that. So then you as the doctor and your team and your team leaders can then look at the data and spend the time, you know, at a higher level of going, okay, this is what we need to do now that we know this information, and create plans to move forward. So it's really helped a lot of offices be able to, I guess, really expand on, you know, not just what they're offering in their offices, but really their level of understanding of, gosh, this is, you know, with this data, this is what we can do. And we can start making these adjustments as well. So, and with the name of frame turn too, it kind of doesn't really limit it, but with frame turn, with all this data that we're able to coach on, we actually have a pro tip team. It's a team that we have dedicated to our frame turn members that actually creates assessments for these opticals so that they can, we break down for them, you know what, these pricing, you have this, you know, these brands priced in this area. Most opticals your size have these brands priced in this area. And we can give them a lot of insights as to what other independent opticals, you know, have had success with. So it's a really, really good tool.
And I'm going to ask you this question, and I know you're probably not going to have an answer for me, but maybe you will. With what you just said in regards to that price range of suggestions, what is the typical average price range for maybe a smaller practice out there? Because I know there are a lot of boutique, smaller practices tend to like to have more independent eyewear designers that can be a little more costly. But what does that average price point look like? What are you seeing with the data that you have?
Yeah, well, like you said, there's not just one. But
or range, I guess I should say, right?
Yeah. What's really interesting is we assess a lot, especially in the beginning. Our opticals that have been on board with frame turn for a while, we've now worked through kind of some of the beginning issues and problems, and they're now onto a little bit more of a advanced type of assessments that we give them. But really overall, the biggest thing that we want to look at is your frame inventory mix as far as how much retail is sitting out there. And there are many opticals, you know, where the doctor is sitting there going, okay, everybody, we need to have, you know, a higher average frame sale price, and we need to have this, and we need to have that. And we start looking at we have a little kind of like pie chart that we have of their retail sales environment. And so many times there are huge gaps. Like let's just say an office will have, you know, frames in the 100, 200 price range, and then nothing until like 390. Like that's terrible. In any sort of retail environment, you need to be able to take your consumer on a journey as far as how much, you know, they're selling. Because if they walk up to a $400 frame, they're going to be like, oh my gosh, these ones were $2. Why is this one $4? That's silly, you know? Where that's one of the things that we do in the very beginning on their frame turn journey is be able to walk them in an office through. And so many offices are like, oh my gosh, I didn't even realize they only have 2 frames out there that retail at, you know, $350. That's the silliest thing. So being able to take, again, the consumer on a journey is really, really important to be able to have, you know, not only a better capture rate, but a better and smarter, you know, work smarter, not harder, you know, like if you have some frames in there that your patient is willing to pay this price range for, and you're kind of skipping over that, you're really missing out, again, missed opportunity. So,
yeah. Well, I want to circle back to something that you touched on, because with, you know, the Defocus Media podcast, hanging with your favorite optometrist, a lot of my listeners are millennial docs coming out of school, opening up their own practices. What should they look at for their actual mix of inventory? Because, I mean, you have to consider men's frames, women's frames, children frames, sunglasses. I mean, how do you figure out what percentage you should have of, you know, each one of those different categories? How do you go about that?
Yeah, that is a little bit more difficult to figure out exactly what it should be when you're coming into it. But what's really great is that when you are able to run data, you can very quickly make adjustments on what your demographic is doing and how your demographic is unique. We see it with some of our opticals that have multiple locations. You know, they might have 3 different locations, and they've got this location that, you know, sells way more men's than women's. Maybe this location has a totally different price range than the other one. You know, the patient demographic will vary, you know, even from location to location in the same practice. So there's not just one set one. Of course, you want to have, you know, typically you have a little higher women's mix than men's. And then of course the lowest is, I should say, kids and sunglasses. But some opticals are really darn good at their sunglass sales. We love those ones. But what's really great, again, is just the analytics, because when you have the data that you're able to, you know, have in the frame turn system, and then you can then, again, at a higher level, look at the data and go, okay, here's the opportunity that we're missing out on. It's very unique to that practice. We never go in and say, you know, oh, this brand, you know, brand X is, you know, really great, so every optical should have brand X. No, because every optical is different. So it's really important to be able to run data that's unique to your office, and that's what we've been able to do. So
see, and I love that approach. I always say data and content is king. Once you're able to get that data, then you can create content to, you know, get more you know, people to your office or more to your bottom line. But you got to know what kind of content to produce, and the only way you can do that is by collecting data. So that is a big deal.
What people like, yeah,
you got to, because you can't just say, okay, Raleigh, Durham, that's where I live. Everyone here likes Darryl Glover frames again. Reality, they may not like Kayla frame. I mean, may prefer Kayla frame. So, you know, that data takes, again, the emotion out and allows you to really go in there level-headed to be able to know what to get. And this helps you out tremendously as well when you have, you know, conferences coming up like, you know, Vision Expo. Where you want to go look for frames. You can actually make sure that you're truly getting your bang for your buck to really know that you're getting the right selections in for your practice.
Yeah. Well, you know, one thing that you're hitting on too is having the data removes the emotion. You know, I'm going to take that a little step further with our industry is very small, in my opinion. very, very small industry. And, you know, we never want to burn bridges, and we all, you know, love each other. And, but how many times have we held on to a frame brand just because we really, really loved a rep? And how many times have we, you know, and I love our frame reps, and our frame reps that have opticals that are on frame turn. The good ones, they really like it, because they're like, oh yeah, look, you know, they walk in, hey, let me
order some more of these, baby. Come and get
them. They walk in to some of their offices. They're like, hey, let me see the frame turn numbers. How we doing? We're going up. Yeah, you know,
that makes sense.
It's really gratifying there, but it's also important to be able to remove that emotion, to be able to have, you know, rewarding the really good frame reps that have really good product that they're turning out for you. And it's really actually helped some frame reps that, you know, kind of just let things kind of slide by. You know, it's kind of made them more accountable for a lot of frame reps too. And we've gotten some feedback too, like, hey, what are you guys doing? And then, you know, we touch base with that rep, you know, a few months later, and they're like, oh, okay, I got it. No, I just knew now I know what I need to do there, you know, so it's really cool.
Well, the thing that I love about this software, this technology, is that, you know, as an optometrist, if I'm having, you know, a conversation with one of my optical experts, one of my team members, and they're telling me something's not selling, I can go look at the data, you know, or they can say this is selling, and I'm like, that's not selling. And I can go look at the data and see that they're completely right. Again, that makes life so much easier, and it helps the practice, it helps the patients, it helps those frame turns quite a bit. Now, we had a question, you know, with this technology that you have, you know, we live in a world of APIs and all that other jazz. Does your technology work with any EMR systems that are out there as well? Are you integrating in any of those, or is that something on the horizon?
That's a really great question. So right now, we are in phase 2, or I'm sorry, series 2, phase 2. I just lost my verbiage there, but we're in the second rendering of the frame turn platform right now. And we've also created what's called the Spexy app that helps to coach on the frame turn platform. So, and we're in phase 1 of that. And so the next phase that actually should be coming out here in the next few months will actually directly connect with the EMRs. If anybody is at all in the techie side of EMR world, you know that they don't really love to do that for cheap. So we got that planned out. It should hit actually within the next 6 months. So we're really excited about that. So, and you know, they also don't make it easy too. So we've got a lot of our tech team that's scheduling all that. So right now, There is some entry that goes in. It's about 2 minutes, 2 to 3 minutes every month. And we encourage that opticals do that at the beginning of the month so that we can send out all their coaching to them. So
Nice.
yeah, so we've really streamlined it, made it really, really nice and easy. So
Good.
yeah, but we are hoping to have that here soon. And then also it'll be able to be entered in through, or I'm sorry, collected through the app as well, which is cool.
Gotcha. Now, before we leave, frame turn and jump into Spexy and the training and all that other jazz, I want to know, how do you know when to bring a new frame line in? Because if you see something that's hitting and it's coming, you're more prone to say, you know what, I'm gonna keep bringing this in. But at some point in time, you have to bring a new frame line in. So, how do you know when to bring a new frame line in? And how do you know when to remove a frame line? Like, what's the timeline? Do you give that frame line a year if it's not moving, 6 months, 2 years? I mean, like, when do you know to bring a new one in, and when do you know when to kick the other one to the curb?
Yeah, so typically if you've had a brand there for a year and it's not working, or it's been on your boards and you finally get on frame turn and it's not working, we're going to start coaching you right away on changes to be done, or changes to try and get that increased. But this is a business, and if it's not working, it's got to be cut. So the frame turn data is really great in being able to, I guess, really quantify that for opticals.
Yep.
When you're bringing on a new brand, one of the big things is that we often see that we have now been able to really quantify in the data. If you have a new brand that your team is excited for, that's a big kicker. The team's going to be excited for it, not just the doctor. That the team is excited for it to have on. If it hasn't sold about half of its inventory in the first 3-ish months, that's kind of a red flag. So we'll start coaching on that. We have little identifiers that pop up in the frame turn system that will tell us, hey, this is a new one that's not performing in this optical, and it'll flag our team like, hey, go help them with this because this is a problem. Because it's an investment that you've made and you don't want to just sit there, right?
Not at all.
But when you're looking at bringing on new brands, one big thing that we caution our opticals on is having, because like if a brand's doing really well, right, you bring on more inventory of it, because it's just doing well, and that turn's just rocking it. There are a few different opportunities that you have. So many offices forgets that just because your frame markup is your frame markup doesn't mean that it needs to stay there. So increasing the price a little bit, because it'll still keep selling, just a little bit, just to see when you can kind of get it to a more average normal spot. You increase the inventory, but at a certain point, you don't want to increase the inventory because you don't want it to, cannibalize the rest of the sales in the optical.
Right.
So that's when, back to your, when to know when to bring on a new brand, that's when you really start looking at, okay, what are other things that we can offer? Is it just this price point? Is it the style? Is it, that could be a little bit more of not necessarily a competing brand, but a brand that might, expand this horizon just a little bit, so we don't have everything just focused on this one brand.
Gotcha.
So.
I love it. Well, that's all been great information, all great advice, and I love it. I mean, anytime you can put numbers behind something to support whatever direction you're going to head, I think that's king. I think that makes sense. We can't do things based off of emotion or just feeling it because we want to feel that way that day. So I love it. But let's jump into Spexy University, because I had the opportunity to chat with you prior about this amazing platform and how you're able to educate our colleagues and how you make it exciting and fun. Give us an overview of Spexy University. What is that all about? Maybe share with us your favorite courses in that program, and just break it down for us if you don't mind, Kayla.
Yeah. So when it comes to Spexy University was created, that was kind of like my little baby when I made the jump into, all right, we're going all in on Spexy. So I have been a CE speaker, co-op ABO, all that funness, for the last 7 years. And so I had previously gone into opticals and worked with consulting one-on-one, and you can't just consult and talk with the team leader, whether it be the doctor or the office manager. It's got to be a whole team thing. And a lot of opticals I really felt were missing the boat in being able to kind of have this, I'm going to say holistic training with everything that's going on in the office. And what I realized was, you know, what I was teaching in all of these opticals, whether it was a small office or a large office or, you know, multiple locations or single location, is they all pretty much had the same type issues. So I was like, okay, why would I have these opticals pay all of this money to have me go into their offices and only have a few days with me when I can, you know, when I'm teaching the same things pretty much over and over again? Right. How about I put it on an online resource on a platform online so that they can access it and be able to, you know, use it when they need it, you know, give the teams the tools when they need the tools. So, so we created Spexy University. Spexy University has many different opportunities. The first is with new hire training. So that was one that was a big kicker from the beginning, because it happens in independent opticals. You know, we're usually a pretty small office where if we're hiring someone, it's usually because someone left. We're bad, someone's gone, right? And so what happens is we have someone who's new coming in, and we go, okay, well, we're going to take our best person and we're going to take them off of, you know, their normal duties, and we're going to have them go teach this person over here. Okay, cool. So now you're running a really short staff. And so what typically ends up happening in offices is we go, okay, we can only run this for so long. And then we kick this guy off the boat and we're like, all right, sink or swim, you do it. Right. Right. And so we find that many opticians, front desk, techs, are kind of pushed into this thing of, you know, sink or swim. Okay, good, go. And they kind of just figure it out on the job. And the unfortunate thing is, I believe that we lose a lot of people in our industry because it is so dynamic and there's so much to learn. And, you know, again, the medical side, the fashion side, the billing, the, you know, all this stuff, there's so much to learn. And I think that we really overwhelm our people that are trying to break into the industry. And so Spexy 101 is really great because it just gives the foundation of what so many of us need in our opticals. And it's not just for opticians, but I do believe it's important for, you know, front desk and other people to know what the opticians are doing, but not, you know, be obviously a trained optician. So it's a really good resource. And so answering your question of what one ends up being my favorite, I think, isn't that what you said?
Yeah.
I think 101 is my favorite because it was so surprising, because we created it for new hires, right? That was the idea. It comes with these like cool little books with the optical workbook. This one's mine. It's got a little red marks on here, but the optical workbook, and it's like, it has like all these different things for them to learn and, you know, have this little notebook with them. So that's what it was intended for, right? Is the newbies. Well, it's my favorite course because what happens is I got call after call and email after email from team leaders, whether it be, you know, the optical manager or whoever it was, going, okay, hey, I'm going to need another one of those books because my new hire was going through it and they're kind of working with them on it, checking in on it. And they're like, I was learning new things and I've been doing this for 15 years. So that was the most, I guess, exciting and amazing thing for me is that Spexy 101 is really, because so many of us have just kind of learned on the job and we're kind of thrown off the boat. There's some stuff that, you know, and honestly, we can get by in optical, you know, because we've got that one rock star optician, you know, like, I don't have to be as cool as her, you know, or as cool as him. And so they just never learned. They were never were taught this kind of like basic foundational stuff. So that's my 101 is my favorite, is because it's not just great. Apparently for new hires, it's great for even the people who have been in optical for a long time.
Awesome. I love it. You know, one thing that I really love that you touched on is that, you know, our industry is dynamic and there are a lot of moving pieces with a new hire into an office. I mean, thinking about, you know, the billing, the coding, the technical piece, the doctor coming out, patients. I mean, that is a lot to look at. And, you know, right now with all this hiring issues and people looking for jobs and needing people to come in to work, I mean, I can see why, you know, optometry is where it's at right now, because there's a lot to take in. And it can be overwhelming in an overwhelming time. So you don't want any additional headache. So to be able to have a platform, to be able to have a service like Spexy University, that is a great opportunity to, keep your team members held to the practice and make it easier for them to be able to communicate with their patients. So I
Totally.
love this home run. Well done, Kayla. Um, I am super excited about everything that you're bringing to the industry.
Thank
I guess my next question for you is, what is next? Because I mean, you have done so much with Frame Turn and Specs University, and now you're working on APIs to talk to EMR systems. What's next for you in this amazing industry?
Well, what's the recent change that we did? We actually did a recent change at Vision Expo West, is where we took all of our courses on Spexy University and we put them in a subscription model. That's
Oh,
super.
nice.
So for like $34 a month, your entire office can have full access to all the Spexy University courses whenever you need it, right?
Oh,
So it's like,
wow.
yeah, we changed our entire thing. It used to be, a couple $100 for this whenever you needed it, and $100 for this, and so we were just like, what, let's just change this model completely and kind of, give the offices, again, the resources to the tools that they need when they need it. So if they need a billing course, boom, it's there. If they need a sales, we have a monthly sales thing that comes out on there, boom, it's there. We have a social media schedule that we send out every month, boom, there. It's all there whenever they need it. So we just launched that, and so that's really exciting because offices are like, yeah, heck yeah. Yes, I want it. So that's really great, and we don't have contracts or anything. So that was kind of like our new shift. So now that we shifted that, and we're going into this kind of new subscription model, it's really allowed for us to be able to tap into where the offices are really using the data and the information that, kind of like you talked about earlier, right? How much are people using it? How often are they using it? So we can see that data on the back end and see, how many times this office is logged in on this one course. And so right now we're actually working on a program. We've got a few going, but we are actually looking at doing more of like an HR type opportunity
Okay.
for offices, because
Very
independent
nice.
offices, I mean, you don't have an HR department. No, you got you and the 4 people you work with, like, that's it. So, but having, a resource to be able to go, hey, how many times has this person used their benefits, or how many times has this happened? And so we're creating a little model for that for independent optical. So that'll be coming out this next year. So we're really excited about that. We've got the newest launch of the app that's coming out, along with the relaunch of Frame Turn. I think that keeps me busy enough. I think.
Sounds like it. I mean, you do a lot over there. I mean, very innovative. But the thing that I love about you, Kayla, is that you follow the data. You keep your ears to the street, the street data, right? To know where to go. Like the direction to go. You know what's needed. You know the pulse of the industry, and that makes a big difference. And it's great. And I really want to thank you for coming on today and having this conversation, because at the end of the day, I love Eyecare, and I feel like we're all in this to win it together. We're all about that patient experience, helping that person that's in front of us, elevating their life, helping them live their best life, giving them all the resources and tools to be successful with their eyes day in and day out. And it's companies like yours, it's minds like yours that really help to elevate that and take it to the next level. So I just want to say thank you on behalf of the eye care industry. I want you to continue to do the great work. And for all my colleagues that are out there listening and watching this show, go to besexy.com, check it out. You will have all the information at your fingertips. Sign up for Spexy University, sign up for the Frame Turn service, and it will help elevate your practice. Where else can they find you? Are you on social media as well, Kayla?
Oh yeah, we're all over it. Yeah, we're on Instagram at bspexy. We're Facebook at bspexy. You can find me on there. I've got all my stuff on there. So we really operate, myself and my team, as kind of like really an open book. So we really like having the opportunity to have people go, oh my gosh. One of our head gals, her name's Melissa. They're like, oh my gosh, I saw Melissa at Vision Expo, and oh, you're the one with Spexy, right? So it's really cool. Some people in our industry like to kind of like keep a little hidden. Nope, not me, not you. We're out there.
We're out there. That's it. That's the only way to be, right? The more value you give to people, the more information you give, it's just the more you'll receive as a person, but also it's just going to make the industry better. Like, we can't hide things. We got to help all these people out here that need to be able to see, but we got to make sure that we have businesses that can sustain and continue to grow and prosper. One last thing, if you don't mind sharing one last piece of information, any advice, or what's the main takeaway that you want the listeners to leave with today?
Oh, that's a good one. I would say the biggest thing is to really start reflecting on how your office can change and adapt and make things easier. We've got so much technology out there right now that can make your life a little bit easier. And, there are some things that, I can do it. I can grind it out. Yeah, you totally can. But you need to really find these resources so that you can, allow for yourself to become a better, and your practice to become, kind of that higher level, higher thinking. It used to be a crazy thing to text your patients reminders. What? Who does that? No, now we're all doing it. Really try and stay on the forefront of, how can I be making my life easier? How can I be making my team's life easier? It's really amazing how, when you actually allow for technology to be able to work for you, how great it can really be. So that's what I'll leave with.
I love it. Well, thank you so much, Kayla. It's your favorite optometrist, Dr. Darryl Glover. Stay healthy, stay positive, and stay blessed. Until next time, peace.
Love it.